Previously in Starlight Exodus.
If the plane's chief captain finds out, we can lose our jobs.
Ares, the capital and biggest city on Mars, is about 4,700 kilometers away from the supervolcano eruption. The authorities there quickly mobilized aid for the three cities near Elysium Mons. Inside the spaceplane control center, the chief commander, Zane, and his crew watched in horror as the big eruption of Elysium Mons unfolded on their monitors. Zane's face was ashen as he muttered,
This can't be happening.
He swiftly took command, ordering,
Change course and land at another spaceport. Mars is on high alert right now. It's an emergency. We need to land these people to safety. Prepare for an emergency landing at Olympus Spaceport.
The crew moved with precision, their training kicking in despite the shock. The control center buzzed with frantic energy, lights blinking and alarms blaring. In the spaceplane security area, Harris and his crew stood speechless, their eyes glued to the screen, showing the eruption. The magnitude of the disaster left them frozen, unable to comprehend the full scale of the catastrophe. Gene and Simon, sitting in the dark cargo hold area, were equally stunned. They had managed to catch a glimpse of the massive explosion through a small window. Simon, his voice trembling, asked,
What's happening to Mars? I thought it was supposed to be a much safer place.
Gene shook his head, his expression grim.
I don't know. Maybe humanity is just doomed and being punished one disaster after another.
Gene and Simon stared at the window in disbelief, the bright plume of ash and smoke from Elysium, Mons dominating the Martian landscape. The reality of their precarious situation settled in, creating an oppressive weight in the cargo hold. As the space plane altered its course, the atmosphere on board was thick with tension. The passengers, unaware of the true extent of the disaster, sensed the urgency and unease among the crew. Whispers and worried glances were exchanged, and the once calm journey turned into a flight of uncertainty. In Ares, the city buzzed with frantic activity. Emergency response teams were being assembled, and resources were being allocated for the rescue and aid mission. The city's leader, Governor Malik, addressed the public via broadcast.
Citizens of Ares, today we face an unprecedented crisis. The eruption of Elysium Mons has put many of our fellow Martians in grave danger. We are mobilizing all available resources to aid the affected cities. Stay strong, stay safe, and support one another in these trying times.
Back on the spaceplane, Zane coordinated with ground control, ensuring their safe landing at an alternate spaceport. The crew worked tirelessly, navigating through the chaos with precision and calm. In the cargo hold, Gene and Simon clung to each other, their fear slowly giving way to determination. They had faced numerous challenges to get this far, and they weren't about to give up now. Gene looked at Simon, his eyes reflecting a newfound resolve.
We're going to make it through this, Simon. We have to.
Simon nodded, his fear slowly being replaced by a steely determination.
Yeah, together?
As the spaceplane prepared for its emergency landing, the passengers braced themselves for the unknown. Outside, the Martian landscape was a stark reminder of the planet's volatile nature. Inside, the hope for survival and the strength of the human spirit kept them moving forward, ready to face whatever came next. Inside the Emergency Operations Center in Ares, the situation was evolving rapidly. Communication lines were flooded with reports, and the coordination of aid efforts was a logistical nightmare. Governor Malik and his team worked around the clock, balancing immediate rescue efforts with long-term strategies for recovery. Meanwhile, the eruption had triggered a series of secondary events. Seismic activities were reported across the planet, adding to the complexity of the disaster. Scientists and researchers were racing to understand the full impact of the eruption and to predict further potential threats. As the space plane descended towards the alternate spaceport, Zane's voice came over the intercom, calm but firm.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are preparing for an emergency landing. Please remain seated and follow the instructions of the crew. We are in safe hands, and we will get through this together.
Jean and Simon hold tightly to each other, exchanging a look of mutual support. The lights inside the plane dimmed slightly, and the hum of the engines filled the cabin. The ground rushed up to meet them, and the plane touched down with a shudder, rolling to a stop amidst a flurry of emergency vehicles and personnel. The passengers disembarked in an orderly manner, guided by the calm and efficient crew. As they stepped onto the Martian soil, the reality of the situation hit them. The sky was tinged with the remnants of ash from the eruption, and the air was filled with a sense of urgency and resilience. Jean and Simon, still together, found themselves amidst the throng of people moving towards the emergency shelters. They knew their journey was far from over, but they had each other, and that was enough to keep them going. After the catastrophic eruption of Elysium, researchers made an astounding discovery. Vast quantities of groundwater were being released from the Martian crust. This unexpected revelation added a new layer of complexity to the ongoing crisis, but it also offered a glimmer of hope for the future of human settlement on the Red Planet. In the Emergency Operations Center in Ares, scientists and researchers were abuzz with excitement and urgency. Dr. Karen Halls, a renowned geologist, stood before a large holographic display which depicted the Martian surface in intricate detail. The data streams showed significant water release points around the eruption site. Dr. Halls began addressing the city's leader.
Governor Malik, the eruption has fractured the crust in several locations, releasing substantial amounts of groundwater. This could change everything.
Governor Malik, despite the stress and exhaustion visible on his face, managed a hopeful smile.
Could this water be harnessed to help the affected cities and our long-term survival on Mars?
Dr. Dave Brin stepped forward.
Yes, Governor. If we can secure and purify this water, it could provide much-needed relief to the affected areas and support our colony's water supply.
Governor Malik nodded.
Then let's make it happen. Mobilize teams to investigate and secure these water sources immediately.
Malik thinking in his seat.
Who would have thought that eruption would be of great help to us in this sudden migration crisis? If we have a big source of water, we can use it for colonies' consumption and to plant more for food.
As the relief efforts for the cities near Elysium continued, specialized teams were dispatched to the newly discovered water release sites. Equipped with advanced drilling and purification equipment, these teams worked tirelessly to tap into the precious resource. Meanwhile, aboard the space plane that had just made its emergency landing, the passengers, including Jean and Simon, were being transported to temporary shelters. The boys, still shaken by the events, found solace in the fact that they were safe for now.
Jean, did you hear what the crew was saying?
Simon asked, his eyes wide with curiosity.
They said they found water, real water, from the ground.
Jean nodded, a spark of hope igniting in his eyes.
Yeah, I heard. Maybe this is a sign. Maybe Mars can be our home after all.
The days passed in a blur of activity and coordinated efforts. The Martian community rallied together, showcasing their resilience and adaptability. Relief supplies arrived from Ares, and makeshift camps were established to provide shelter and medical care for the displaced residents. Aid poured in from various quarters, and the affected cities began their slow and arduous path to recovery. The eruption of Elysium, Mons had tested them, but it had also brought out the best in them. And amidst the chaos and the struggle, there was a glimmer of hope for Jean and Simon, and for all those who called Mars their own. The future, though uncertain, was something they were ready to face head-on, together.